Welcome to Family Business Diaries, the podcast where we unravel secrets of family businesses. I'm your host, Mary Asante Asamoah, and today, we're here at Ashesi with the Entrepreneurship Capstone Group, and with some alum from Ashesi, we're going to have deep conversations about family business. So let's get started. I am here with, I won't do the test, but I'm here with three alum from Ashesi, and I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. But we have Ewurabena, we have Sam, and we have Dr. Razak. Should we do the ladies first, or should we let? All right, so we'll start from you. Just introduce yourself. Tell us something about yourself, your business, and then we'll move along.
My name is 𝐥𝐢𝐯𝐞𝐿 Neequaye. I'm a second generation entrepreneur, and I work in a very vast myriad of family businesses. So the primary of which is Linear HR, and started a little over 30 years ago. And the same family, we have other businesses: Legacy Girls College, Innovate Workspaces. Recently just started Aquaplay Haven. I also have other family business that I'm working in. I started a studio with my husband, Yutees Studios, and I'm currently working as CEO of a school, Morning Glory Montessori Child Development Center. That was started by my auntie. So when it comes to family businesses, my whole life is family businesses. My auntie's school, what my parents started, that we've taken over. All of them second generation. The only first generation is Oasis Studios that I'm doing with my husband. So
Good to have you. I mean, with this intro, we're sorted. You can talk to us about working with partners as well, which you never know. Maybe some of these students would want to do something with their spouse. So this is good. All right. So Sam.
Yeah, so my name is Sam. I work for a reinsurance broking firm. My family business has been in insurance since 1981. My dad started it at 25 years old. Just about the time he was turning 50, I then was coerced into joining the business. Yes. Basically, I run the business as the managing director of one of 4 companies that we have. That is insurance agency, insurance broking, reinsurance broking, and a risk advisory in Mauritius. So I run the reinsurance broking called Visal Reinsurance Brokers, and I finished school about 10 years ago. So I've been in the seat, like she said. Yutees?
All right, Dr. Razak.
Yes, I am Dr. Razak Rahman, a medical doctor by training. I still practice in an emergency setting. My story is a little different because my dad was in the Ghana Army as a colonel who retired early, and upon his retirement started this private security company. So at the time it was called the UTC, which eventually morphed into Yutees, because back then they couldn't say UTC for whatever reason. So it is a private security company, one of the only fully Ghanaian owned private security companies, established in 96. So anything to do with security along the entire scope. So from manned guard services, guard dogs, CCTV, monitoring, alarm systems, rapid response, anything to do with surveillance and security, that is what Yutees is all about. And I currently sit on the board of directors along with my siblings. Okay, so I'm the last of 4 children, and my dad is late now. My mom is also quite aged at this point. So it's between myself and my siblings. That's how we are running this business. Even though we are all professionals in our own right, we all have our own independent ventures that we are pursuing. So I think being able to come together as a family and understand that we are trying to continue my dad's legacy without necessarily even taking anything from the company. We are all about growth and the legacy of the entire enterprise. So that's the story here.
Wow. It's like an assorted meal, like different dynamics. Everybody's telling us something different. One unique thing though is you guys are busy. Like you have too many units and you have so much going on. And then with Dr. Razak, I mean, so you're running your own thing on the side and then
Involved in
board as well.
Yes, yes.
I think that's one of the things with family businesses. Usually when we talk about family businesses, everybody feels you have to be in management, you have to be in operations. But one of the things that we keep highlighting is the fact that, you can always sit at the top and just maintain the values and the heart of the business, right? Without having to give up your own dreams and your own vision. So it's very interesting that you say this. Now, I want to take it, since we are here, when you were in your final year, when you knew you were leaving school, was this the plan? Did you have plans of joining your family businesses, or what happened? What changed? How did you end up joining the business? This time we'll start from here.
We'll start from here. I actually wanted to be a football player.
Ooh.
Yeah. I had no aspirations of being on the board or even being in business. I was always an athlete growing up. So for me, it was a complete 180. In final year, or should I say probably throughout my university education, I'd come home every now and I schooled overseas. I'd come home every now and again and go to the office, and I'll see my dad, very busy with a whole lot of documents on his table. I had no idea what was going on. I just knew that we have a private security company. So I knew that aspect, and gradually I started developing a liking for security, because if you consider the hierarchy of needs, security is an indispensable part of it. Think about what it takes for you to be able to fall asleep at night. You probably need to ensure that your environment and surroundings are safe and sound. Your body is not even going to allow you to fall asleep. So for me, that was the point of entry, that curiosity in how security is almost an indispensable part of our physiological needs, right? So gradually, and just about the time when I was about to graduate in 2019, my dad passed. And that's when it got real, so to speak. So we had a family meeting, and during this meeting, we were very honest with everything. We laid all the cards on the table, and that's when we decided that all hands are going to be on board. So for me, I didn't see it coming. It just ended up being one of those unforeseen circumstances that led to me going in. Yes.
But 2019 till now, you haven't left. So that means something is working.
Yes.
So that's good. All right, Sam, what's your story?
Well, I hope my dad never gets to see this video.
I'll send him the link.
But yeah, so I basically never really wanted to do insurance. For me, insurance, my parents introduced me to the business at 9 years old. I was literally in the office. Again, child labor shouldn't see this video as well. I was basically in the office, understanding some of the people that have been working there for a very long time, getting to understand what the policy is, blah, blah, blah. But for me, it was more of just a chore. I just have to pass by the office every day after school. So from 9 years old all the way till I was done with the secondary school, I then moved to Ashesi, of course, for my university education. And from there onwards, it was entrepreneurship for me, right? So at Ashesi, I was involved in a lot of projects. One of the major ones for me was an agribusiness project that was involved with the people down there in Brekusu. So we looked at how we could help farmers in the region to add value to their products. So that sparked my interest for agribusiness in a way. Fast forward, we came up with products. We started selling on campus. We're one of the famous businesses on campus. And then my dad calls me and it's like, I need you to come and join me on the field. And I'm like, no, I'm farming.
This is on the field.
which is equally on the field. I'm literally on the field. I don't need to come. I'm farming. And he's like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, you can do that. But, come and join me. Of course, I was adamant about it. I wasn't interested. Point blank, I said no. Finished university. moved to Brekusu, was down there, rented a small house with my co-founder. We're there for about a year, working with farmers in the region. And then my mom gives me a call. It's like, I need to see you. So mothers always have a way of stepping in when the fathers are not making headway. My mom calls me, I need to see you. So I go back, I see her for a bit. She talks to me about how, I'm disturbing the family. I'm the firstborn. And there's a certain responsibility on firstborns that they don't tell you when you are born. It's just assumed that you should know that there are certain things you don't get to miss it. Your last born can miss it. Unfortunately for her, she didn't miss it. I think for Ewurabena, there was no missing it for her. So she just ended up there. But for me, it was more like, this is a duty. This is something that you need to do. First generation businesses. My dad is all about legacy and keeping the the survival from yourself to generations to come. So he's not even interested in myself. He's interested in like 10 of his grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren after. But somebody has to get them there. So my mom, breaks down everything to me and adds a bit of waterworks to it. And then I was sold. I said, fine, I'm going to dedicate 7 years of my life to this. I gave them the cards. I told them that 7 years, that's what you're going to get. After that, I'm out. It's 10 years now. I'm still here.
I was going to ask, are you sure about this 7?
Yeah, why is it? I'm just curious.
7 is my number. Some funny way, 7 is my number. So when I tell you 7, that's it. I'm done. So it's either 7 o'clock, 7 in the night.
Hey.
Anything 7, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Now we know. Yes. All right. So Ewurabena.
I've never been that serious to plan my entire life. I've never been that serious to plan my entire life. I was telling my husband recently that I never had any timeline, I was in school, even to get to write exams. If it's time, everybody's in the lecture hall learning, I'll go and sleep. Sometimes in the lecture hall, if I'm tired, you find me, I'll be seated at the front too, but I'll doze off. I just had a very laissez-faire attitude towards life. And when I was done with university, I wanted to discover myself. So I wasn't interested in working in the family business, not because I had anything against it, but I just thought, it's HR management. And I thought there was a lot more I had to offer. Fresh out of school, I did entrepreneurship as well. Our entrepreneurship project was a transport system to sort of fix the transport issues in Ghana. At that time, Uber was in Ghana. Uber came the year after we have done that project. And we were just so excited to start something of that sort. I didn't really envision it will happen. I had ambition that would sell a plan to the Ministry of Roads and Transport, but I knew how Ghana is, so I never thought it would go any further because I didn't have any strong ties to the national king. But I remember what they managed to hook me into the business was my writing, because I was really passionate about writing, and we had a magazine that the company was publishing on a quarterly basis. So they said, I need somewhere to do my national service, so come and be an editor or a junior editor, contribute, right? I've been there 10 years, and from national service I've risen through the ranks. Now I'm in senior management. It wasn't my plan. I remember for the first 4 years or so, I was very reluctant. I had my elder brother sat me down and spoke to me about having the right attitude towards work, because I was there in protests. And I felt, you guys have not given me the chance to discover myself, so you're just forcing me to be here. What if there's so much more I can accomplish? And I have that nature. I have multiple talents. I have the ability to do multiple things. And I was well aware of that, so I knew that there was a lot more I could bring out except writing, because writing I had already discovered. I'd been a writer since I was 14. So yeah, I felt stuck. And so it's manifested in the way in which I worked. I was doing the barest minimum, which for others would be a lot. And just not putting my weight forward, not putting my best foot forward, So my brother sat me down and said, this is the business that has fed us since we grew up. And our parents can only do so much. They are nearing retirement. There is a responsibility to carry on the legacy, as Norman said. So that sense of, okay, this is what I have. Is there a way in which I can channel my passion into this business? At that time, it was just one that we were aware of. My parents had started multiple other ones, which found out later had failed, so we didn't even get to know about them. We've seen family businesses start and fail, and I think there was that quiet fear as well, because my father also had a business. Lene was started by my mother 30 years ago, but my father also had a business, Lando Services, and that was multimedia, but it didn't survive. And Lene had to eventually acquire the assets of Lando Services. So we were able to see, the success side and the failing side, and that fear of, if we don't do the work, it will fail kind of thing sat on us. And once I got in the zone and realized there is something I can contribute, there's a quota I can contribute, I was able to put my best foot forward, contribute some change here and there. And then when the portfolio of businesses grew, because of capacity, like I mentioned, I'm able to do a lot of things at the same time. It just naturally fell on myself. And last time, as I was married, my husband also graciously carried the load. So a lot of the subsidiaries are in the startup phase compared to Lene, that is 30 years. Legacy was, I think, a little over 10 years. But beyond Legacy, we're not even as actively involved as the other ones, because those are all in the startup phase. But that sense of responsibility was what hooked me.
So it's really interesting that you talk about responsibility, the fear. I think the mindset is key, right? Because yes, some of us were tricked into getting into the business. They won't confess, but I still believe that was the plan. Yeah, but you can be there and not be there. I don't know if, like, you can be in the business. Yes, they say show up, so you can decide to be going to work like any employee, right? But there's something that happens at a certain point in the business where you realize, okay, this is big. This is not just me showing up for work. It's almost like this thing can't die in my hands. For me, that's what it was. And that fear of, it's almost like somebody has dropped the baby on your lap and says, take care of it, right? And you keep wondering, how do you make it work? Because it's like somebody has run a business for 30 years. I mean, your father's only, I wasn't even born, right? But they've done all this, and then you are coming up. And whether you like it or not, once you're the founder's child, it doesn't matter where you're starting from, there's some level of responsibility, right? So what are the values? What is it that gets you through every day, right? I mean, once you said yes to your mother's waterworks, once you accepted that, okay, I can't go find myself, but I'm in here. Once you had this sad thing happen where your dad passed, and you realize this is there, like, what are the things that push you? What are the values that you have used all these years to get you going? I'm just curious, because it's not enough to just sign the letter and say, okay, I accept this job. There's a lot that happens in here and in here. It's the only way to get to the next level. So we want to be in your diaries. Tell us the secret things that you used to push through. We'll let the writer go first.
I think the writer.
So it's a lot of different things at different seasons. In the beginning, I was a national service person. I didn't want to, at that time, we didn't even have the term Nepo baby, but that gives a context as to what it is now. You didn't want colleagues to see you as, oh, you don't have anything to offer. You're just here because this is your family business. And at that time, it was very easy for people to identify because we had the same surname. So when they hear the name Hagan, then they know that, hey, are you related to? Then it's like, okay, then they're assuming that I'm just here because I'm related. So there was already a lot of pressure to prove myself. And then I was the last born. So Norman was the firstborn. So he was sort of the first that, firstborns usually have some aura usually have some aura that, you know, they are the responsible ones. They have been around for a while. They have come to set the tone, etc. And my elder brother also really sets the tone because he really transformed the business before we got there. You know, there are times where he would, even in that conversation that he had with me, he was mentioning the things he had done and the accolades, you know, and he's saying that this should be you. You should be doing this at this age, you know. So I had to push myself to prove a point to both myself, to others, and to the family that yes, I'm the last born, but I'm not just the last born. I also have a lot of zest. I also have a lot of capacity. I have what it takes to be at the helm. And unfortunately, that's a lot of things that I've had to deal with, even growing up, because the school I went to was owned by a family member. Even high school, at the time when I got to high school, the headmistress was a family member. So I had to prove that, you know, I'm here on my own merits.
Yeah.
And because you are related to people that are in authority, there is the sense of, okay, we can't give her this opportunity because it will seem like.
Yeah.
So if I don't overperform, it would be assumed I don't have the capacity. So that unconsciously drove me throughout. And at the end of the day, there were several times where I felt like, what was the point? You know, at the end of the day, they still won't see my worth because I'm still a baby in everybody's eyes. I'm still the last born. They were all there when I was born. They all heard me cry. They all saw my diapers. So at the end of the day, I had to push myself to see that there was a purpose beyond the work that we do. The family businesses itself, one time I remember in one of our family meetings, we actually had a conversation to remind ourselves of the why we do what we do. And when my mom started Lene, she started because she had a passion for getting people in the right jobs. She believed that everybody had a purpose to fulfill, and the wrong job can sort of entirely thwart that purpose. So Lene was sort of on a divine mission to match people to the right jobs and the right careers. Beyond that, we believe that what we do is a tool for expanding the kingdom of God. We are a very faith-based family. And even though all the businesses profess it. But beyond that, we believe that we're providing livelihood for people. We're providing food on people's table. We're giving people things to live for. So all of those things sort of push you in the moments where you feel like, is this even worth it anymore? And yes, these are some of the values that we still build on every day. We try to pass it on to those we work with, to those we hire, you know, and those we relate with. So, yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's spot on. It's a classic example of the last born taking over what the first born has done. But so what I'm going to say would make it sound like what she said with respect to her elder brother. So there's a big part of commitment and sacrifice that goes with family business, right? And the commitment is a very thin line because you feel like you're a part of it, but not a part of it. So you can walk away at any time, and you can't walk away at any time.
Exactly.
So you are basically walking a very thin line between what you want to do, what the family wants you to do, what the business wants you to do. Which one of them are you committed to? And that aspect might be one of the bigger things that pushes you to keep showing up, because you have to make a decision on where your commitment is. So you see your friends you finished school with, they would go to Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, General Electric, Google. Meta. It keeps going on and on. Earning salaries 3 times probably what the senior most person in your office is even earning. All right. And you have the same capability to do that. But there's a certain level of commitment that is dragging you away from pursuing that. And that's where the sacrifice now comes in.
It's real. It's so real. It's very real.
And that's where the sacrifice now comes in, because you're like, I want to, especially in this day and age where LinkedIn is more of everybody throwing out what they are about, you know,
Announcements
and announcement section. I participate in that quite heavily as well.
and we love it. Yes.
But there's a certain sense of sacrifice that has to dawn on you.
Yeah.
That I can't do what they are doing, not because I don't have the capability to do it, but because I need to sacrifice my time, my resources, my ability to earn whatever it is they are earning to just make it for the next generation to have it. And maybe that next generation that will have it might be able to stand up, put their hands on their chest and say, I'm the JP Morgan of Africa, because my dad, my grandfather, my great-grandfather put the sacrifice down for that. So that's the commitment and sacrifice that I'd say you have to go for.
It's a really tough one. And I remember for me, when I moved back, I was so frustrated. I'm like, listen, I was earning so much. Like, what is this chicken change you're dealing with here? Right? Like, the sacrifice is real. And sometimes, especially as next gens, when you're trying to push, you know, ideas, maybe you want the business to do, and then they're not seeing, it's like they still see you as a small child. Is this worth it? Right? But I guess that's what's important, that commitment and having the vision that you're trying to build something that would outlive you. So you have to sort of ignore the drama that comes with it. But it's a tough one. We're not trying to discourage you guys. It's just the realities of family business. All right. So I'm going to keep calling you doctor because and it's
I mean, they have said it all. They have said it all. One thing that was very apparent when I got more involved was how much more I should be sacrificing to make things work. As of recently, we got quite heavily involved in the event space in Ghana. Event security it's a different beast. Yeah. So when you have a gathering of 20, 30,000 people and you're responsible for coordinating all the security measures around that, a lot goes into it. I'm talking about several months of planning, ensuring you have evacuation routes in case of emergencies, avoiding things like stampedes and all that. And we've been fortunate for the past 5 years. We've had a recurring theme of contracts with a few notable events that you probably have been to if you like to party. Notably, the Afro Future in Ghana. Yeah, we're responsible for coordinating that security. So we're talking about from the artists all the way down to everyone who's there to participate in the event. So we realized when we started doing these events that the capacity we need, we are truly lacking. We already have over 3,000 men on the ground across multiple regions in Ghana.
Wow.
And we typically work with diplomatic and ambassadorial missions in Ghana. So most of the embassies, we man and coordinate their security for them, and notable Ghanaian corporations as well as private oil and gas, plantations, agri. So, but the event space really demanded us to personally sacrifice, and that was the most apparent time. I had to leave work for almost a month. So I had planned that in advance and then come to the ground with my brother, who's also military in the Ghanaian army. And it was a stressful point in time. So I entirely concur with your sentiments about sacrifice. And that's what it seems to take to continue a legacy of a family business, because I don't think there's any overtime that could have been paid to anyone to endure what you went through that time. But see, because we know what we are trying to accomplish and we understand that, look, Dad sacrificed everything. He could have been driving all the fancy cars. He never did. He never bothered. He could have been living like so lavish. But instead, everything stayed in the business. So we're like, okay, we must perpetuate that. We must continue that. And that's exactly what we've been doing.
So I want to talk about innovation with where we're going, right? Because most of the time, you know, as when you graduate, you enter the business, you start questioning your parents that, but why is this like this? Why are you doing this manually? Why, you start poking holes, you see all these things. But what has the journey been like for you in terms of innovation? I mean, you talked about the event space, for instance. Is it something your father was doing before, or something you brought into the business? What have you changed? How has that journey been? Introducing new ideas, how did they take it? Because if you want the business to grow, right, we can't keep doing what we're doing. It can't just be that as well. So next gen, you coming in, it's not just you taking care of what's been done, but how do you take it to the next level? So I want to talk innovation.
Right.
What have you done differently? How has the journey been?
Yes. In my dad's time, there was no such thing as event spaces. It was just like this company, they want like, and adaptability is probably the word to define that. And I'm sure you can probably relate. The older gen, they have their ways of doing things and they stay stuck in it, Oh, that's how we've been doing it. Like, we are still bookkeeping manually, pen and paper, Like, we have supervisors who are supposed to like do their surveys and go around and monitor the guards and everything. And we are still doing it very manually. They're on motorcycles patrolling around. When we could leverage technology to just kind of like ensure that we have guard monitoring units and we have all these things going in place. So we recently spoke about developing an app that our supervisors are going to start using to monitor real time the operations. We already have a robust control room where everything is monitored. But certainly there are a lot of advancements that we can make to ease the burden in terms of how the work is actually done on the ground. So yes, it's been a point of contention anytime we are discussing technology with mom, and
I don't like technology.
No, she's not trying to hear it. She's not trying to, but she's bought into the idea of getting an app to enable that. And we got the supervisors some devices to be able to use as well to make things and brief everyone. So my WhatsApp is always like so many, I get overwhelmed. Like, I can't follow up. So many messages from different divisions in different sectors in Accra, different company, different zones. And we need those updates so that in case of a shortage or in case of anything, we can respond rapidly. And I think for a service-based business, sometimes that's what it's about. There will be unforeseen circumstances beyond your control, but it's how you quickly respond to it that makes the client satisfied. So we just try to leverage technology a bit more proficiently to be able to address those shortages when they do inevitably come up.
In the innovation space and family business, you can say you don't like peace. That's what it is. That's basically what it is. If you come into the family business, you want to innovate, assume you don't like peace, because you're going to fight everybody in the company, including the founders of the company. And it's not really because they don't like it. I think most first generation family businesses, the founders treat the business like it's a baby.
Yeah.
They gave birth to this child.
Yeah, first one.
And anything you try to do to that child, you're doing it to me. So if you see that the staff are coming to work and never clock in, and there's no clocking system, and you tell them you want to install a clocking system,
Don't shake that system.
each and every staff in that company is their baby as well. So as much as you are their child, everybody else is their baby. And so if your plan is to record all those who are coming late and think you are going to report that to the founder and say, okay, these are people who are coming late, we have to fire them. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. So the innovation in family business is just purely a war zone. You don't step into it unless you are committed to see your father in the morning or your mom in the morning and walk past them, because they are not going to greet you because of an argument that has nothing to do with the family, but something happened in the office. Just because you decided to be bold enough to bring it up, sometimes it's difficult for them to accept it. I was lucky. My dad is a bit old school, but also progressive in a way. So he would accept the idea 10 years later if you bring it now. That's what I meant by progressive. So you have to keep going back and making your case. And he's all about, does it bring me money? If it doesn't bring me money, you're wasting my time. So if it's going to cost me to put that innovation in place and it's not going to bring me money, I'm sorry, we are not having the discussion.
Yeah.
Let's move on to what is going to bring us money. That is me doing the manual work, not spending any money, but getting money. So you have to fight that battle. You have altercations that you don't want to have, and personal things begin to show up. So you begin to fight over personal things that you would hope they are forgotten about, but some way, somehow, it's dragged into the family business. Sometimes it's in front of all the staff. Sometimes it's just in front of you. And the insurance space for me, we are driving serious innovation. My team and I, the average age in my company after I joined, and then maybe we recycled them a little bit. The average age now is 23. So it has forced my dad to become a Gen Z because he has to catch up with what they are trying to achieve. And I made him understand that if he doesn't catch up, the business is not dependent on me, because again, I'm not committed, but I'm committed. I said 7 years. I'm here. So I'm walking away if you are not doing it. And at the same time, these people will walk away with me because they can't tolerate you if you stay in the zone. I'm the bridge between you and them.
Yeah.
And so we started to kind of change our processes, but not just for us, but for the entire insurance value chain. So we created what we call Placeit, and that is a real-time tracking platform that allows insurance companies to access reinsurance capacity. And reinsurance is another insurance company providing insurance to an insurance company, right? So the tracking of the platform allowed us to speed up our, should I say, access to clients, and also speed up our turnaround time. So because of that, we're doing more volumes. And because we are doing more volumes, then we are going to do more money, right?
Which makes Buddy happy.
But to get there, we had to spend. And that was the part where the fight, the altercation, the misunderstanding. We are still not there yet, but we are getting there bit by bit.
But I think, yes, there are emotions involved, right? But like any business, if you're working in a bank, if you're doing whatever, if there's an idea that you're bringing on board, you almost have to justify it, right? So sometimes as the next gens, I think we also get emotional a bit. We think we have an idea and we're trying to push it through. Why can't you see my dream? But if you assume that it's just a business and you're not presenting to your dad, but to a board or but to anybody, I think sometimes you take the blows that they give you, right? Without
100%.
Yeah. So it goes both ways. It's very it's an emotional journey, to say the least.
I think one of the things that family business does teach you is stakeholder partnership management. Because you're dealing with a founder who is a shareholder, and you're dealing with a staff, and you're dealing with a client who has dealt with your family before you were born. You're dealing with another client who is new. And what Ophelia would have learned at Goldman Sachs in 10 years, you're going to learn it in 2 days.
Yes.
So, like you're saying, sometimes we forget that it's all part of the process and we need to get it right. Yeah.
So, oh no, you didn't share your innovative story. Go ahead.
What's the next question?
No. The questions are coming from what you're saying.
So I think a lot of they've said a lot.
Yeah.
The part I want to add on is the internal innovation that you would have to have. As an individual, you would like what he just said.
Yeah.
What other people took 10 years to learn, we probably learned within our first year in the family business. Now, already as a multi-potentialite, I could do a lot of things. So in the family business, it's like how when you have a startup, you'll be the same person doing the marketing, doing the social media, doing all of that. That same vibe, but in an established business. Because either you are not hiring the right capacity or you're not able to properly communicate vision. Like there may be gaps in business management. And as a family member or part of the family business, you have to fill all the gaps. There was once a time where I was in charge of I was doing creatives, I was doing event management, I was doing writing, I was doing supervision and supervising 8 people at the same time. And if any of them are faltering, then I'm filling the gaps so that the higher ups will not see the issue. And at the end of the day, when everything crashes and burns and it's you who has crashed and burned, like there's that internal sense of you have to be innovative and have to sort of improve upon yourself. Business is business. Right now, we're battling AI. If your company started in the 19s, you'd have to be innovative and find ways of including tech or risk holding. So innovation has been part of our day-to-day life. Sometimes you would have to innovate and get a whole new business, like how places came. That's how Innovate Workspaces came, because we had property management. We had buildings that had floors of 300 feet. Nobody wanted to spend that much money to rent 300 square feet for a workspace. So we had to be innovative, create smaller office spaces and get more manageable, financially manageable plans. So a co-working space was best. And if you don't have innovation, you would have an empty floor where no money is coming in, as opposed to smaller money that would still serve the same purpose. So there's internal innovation that has to be intentional and for your business to thrive. And I think this even is whether it's a family business or not, you have to jump onto the next sigmoid curve, because businesses rise and then they fall. So if you don't innovate and prevent the fall, you would eventually just see the end of the legacy. And what's the point when, you know, first generation managed the world? Second generation, it cannot fail with us. The kids that come and fail, but even they, you have to make sure that they have systems in place that they don't fail. So,
all right. So just in listening to you guys, I want to talk family dynamics, right? Because it seems like that's where all the action is. I mean, you work with your siblings and your mom.
Yes,
right?
dad.
You have your dad
And my sibling.
and your siblings. And then there's always the mother or the father behind the scenes. They have power. They have a lot of power as well. So what is it like in terms of working with family? How are you able to draw the line, know when we're talking business, know when we're just having, you know, family time? How do you handle conflict? I don't want to pick on one thing. I just want to understand the vibe at home. What's it like in terms of family dynamics for each of you?
I mean, you promised that that's not going anywhere.
I'll save this part for your dad.
Yeah. Okay. Because these are people that we are still working with. We have to be very diplomatic in how we answer the question. So I mentioned that we started a new business. One of the properties we've turned it into a playground. It's called Aqua Play Haven. And for this one, before we hand it over to someone entirely, we wanted to run it ourselves as siblings. And for this particular one, my parents have taken a back seat, both my mom and my dad, because they want to see how well we work together. This is them testing their succession plan, how well we, the siblings, will work together when they are not around. But yes, there's the backseat driving. There's low-key, is this what she wants? Is she happy with this? Is what's daddy thinking about this? You know, how can daddy help us make this case? You know, all of those things are involved. There's different characters. In my family, where we have very flamboyant characters. We're all very strong-willed, strong-headed. We're very what's the name? Assertive. We can easily say, when we're growing up, it was a very sarcastic household. Everybody would throw this snide comment here and that snide comment there. If you get offended, nobody cares. They are moving on without you. So that aspect is still evident in the day-to-day work. Now, lines have to be drawn, because in the workspace, I'm not expecting you to treat me as your little sister. I'm expecting you to see that I have 10 years of work experience under my belt and a wealth of knowledge that somebody of my same level wouldn't have, because of all that I've done in the business and all that I've been exposed to. And there's that level of respect that you have to have in the workplace. And whenever you see that element of you're bringing house matter here, you sort of have to correct each other so that, yes, we're professionals sitting at this table, irrespective of where we sit when it comes to how old we are. You know, there's that element. Then there's the element of, since the founders are still alive, making sure that we're not sort of entirely wiping off their vision. And they would lie and say, oh, right now you are the helm or you are in charge, so over to you. But when you do something, they're questioning everything. So like you mentioned, we always have to have the data. There will definitely be fights. I don't think it's possible to have a family that you don't fight in. And at certain points, you're not happy, but you're working. because the work has to be done. We can't let the work suffer. We can't let other people suffer because of that. Then you find ways of dealing with it. I remember there was a certain time where I told my brother, I made him aware that when I started working in the company, he made me have a lot of tears. He made me go to bed crying a lot, and it was my husband that used to console me. And there was a time, at that time, I was speaking about his past self, so it was easy at that time. So, and I'm the kind of person that I wouldn't have the confrontational conversation with my family members. I do it to everybody else. It's so funny. I can have a very hard conversation with staff, with colleagues, with elderly people that report to me. But when it comes to my family, I'll be more quiet. So it's my husband that's always saying, why didn't you say this? Why didn't you tell them? Say your mind. And in my mind, I grew up the last born. Yeah. So I didn't always, as well, people always assume the last one have their way. I didn't really always have my way in my household. They probably would beg to differ, but I was always the one that would sort of be quiet and hand over. So a lot of that is still seen in the family business right now. So
let peace prevail. Sam, what do you think about that?
To be honest, I mean, what she said is correct. I
feel like he's holding his words.
Yeah, I'm choosing my words correctly here because, I mean, your question was how do we manage
The family dynamics.
Family dynamics, and the family dynamics they are the business.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth. The family dynamics are the business. So, like a managing director has to deal with the board of directors who are maybe in quote in a business sense, they will be the family members, and then you have to go report to all your siblings how you're messing up or how you're performing.
Yeah.
And in this case, they don't owe you anything. So the board members for a traditional business that's not a family business will just walk away and tell you their mind and walk away. And then you're supposed to swallow it in because you can't say anything to your chairman.
Mm-mm.
But here's a case where if your chairman is your dad or your mom, and they tell you that what you're doing doesn't seem like it's going to work, without any data to back it, you flare up. And when you flare up, you tend to also bring out the fact that you always do this. You start using the words you always.
Always and never.
And never. And then it also comes from there, and you also always and never. And you realize that you can go on for 2 minutes to 2 hours talking about something that is completely unrelated to what the first comment was about. And then it continues at home. The other family members are dragged into it. If your auntie is close to your dad, they are coming into it. If you're whatever it is, they are coming into the conversation. And so for me, the family dynamics are hardly managed unless you decide that you are cutting off the family and then sticking with the business.
Alone.
Yes, you cut off the family, stick with the business. Or you stick with the family, you cut off the business. These are your only two options. If you want if you want a balance, it's not peaceful. That's the truth of the matter. It's not peaceful. It's the reality on the ground. It's not peaceful. But if you cut off the business and you want to build a family, that's okay. If you cut off the family, you want to build a business, you have peace.
I like the strategy. All right, Doc.
Well, my situation is a little different because my dad was a colonel in the army, so everything was based on structure with very clear defined roles. So you're not coming in there to meander, you're not coming in there to goof about. And he had solid systems in place before his passing. So we literally just plugged in and we are playing. So it's plug and play. I cannot think of a moment where we have had anything that blurs the lines between interpersonal family relationship versus what happens in the office. We have a group chat. We definitely share and bounce ideas off of and reach a consensus, but not to the point where it leads to arguments. This is just my personal observation. Yes. So from that point of view, I think probably what matters most is that respect has to exist both in and outside the office. So do you genuinely respect your siblings and your mother as people whose opinions and ideas you can hold some weight against? Or maybe you just don't rate them, then that can lead to some judgment on some of the decisions they may be making or ideas they may be proposing. But for our family, we are all equally competent in our own independent lives. So I think that mutual respect exists, and we hear each and everyone's opinions and ideas. And also, there are clearly defined roles. Like, so we know what my mom does, what my other brother who is in the military also does, what my other sibling also does, Moose, and my sister who's more into the procurement aspect of things. My brother is like more on the administrative tender. Then my other brother is in the operations, and I'm also there as well with him. So the roles are so clear that we already know what needs to be done. And if we should ever have to sit down to reach a consensus on anything, we do so typically quite amicably.
Okay, awesome. So because of time, I have 3 questions on my mind. I'm going to ask the 3 questions, and then everybody chooses one. All right. So I'm thinking succession, first to second. Like, how does one prepare for that? How has it been for you guys in terms of corporate, in terms of family governance? How have you handled it? That's one. Number 2 is, as a next gen, how are you preparing, you know, the next generation? And then what should my third question be? What would you do differently if you had a chance to? Don't pick the third one. I won't even remember the questions I asked, so I hope you picked yours.
We have.
All right.
Okay, so I'll speak about succession. I think we are all in unprecedented times. The entire family. My parents have never had to create something and hand over. We've also never had to inherit and run with. The blueprints we can easily learn from our other family businesses we're aware of that we have relationships with. So what they have done was to try to map out their succession. So for a business like Legacy Girls College, it's not 100% stake for us. We just have a percentage stake because she was a co-founder. So we are aware that even if we were to take over managing, we wouldn't be entirely responsible to make all the decisions. For Lene HR, we know that we have 100% stake. And for the longest time, it's been just 4 siblings working operationally. So we're at that place where we're moving from operational management to board level management. And we're also now putting together the systems of all the subsidiaries, making them work and run, and just having those reporting lines. So we have had to be mindful of longevity and how to get the next generation involved. We don't want a situation where they would be entitled and come in without having the necessary competence or making sure that they are able to hold their fort. So those we've had conversations and thoughts around getting those in place. For a school like Morning Glory is also 30 years, but it's been running as a school, not as a business. I don't know if that clarifies.
Yes,
so the business element is what I'm now bringing to the fore. So I'm also being very mindful to have systems that would outlive me, so that whoever would sit in the seat of CEO when I get up would have it all clearly laid out so that they can take over. So succession, even if you're not aware of who is going to sit in the seat after you, you just have to know that there should be something, it should be a clearly laid out system that is not based on a whim or your gut feeling or how you feel or how you think. There should be data that informs decisions, and there should be procedures that we can take to make those decisions. So, but still in the process of getting all of those things done. We are the first succession plan.
Yes.
So we are putting that plan together because it seems we may not have family members that may take over, even though it's a family business. We want it to become like the Google or the JP Morgan, like Norman said. So we're putting those systems in place, and it's exciting to see how it will turn out.
Okay. Who's preparing the next generation? Who picked that question?
I want to do what I'll do differently.
Who's preparing the next gen?
Yeah, like,
He's already in the next gen, so he can talk about that.
or what do you wish you had, like somebody had done for you so that it makes things easier?
Right. I think probably like what Sam was introduced to a business as early as 9 years.
Yeah.
That's very early. So I think that plays a role, but he ended up low-key hating the business.
My name is Mr. Farmer.
But I think early introduction certainly helps to that degree. If you want to determine whether there's going to be that care or passion or desire for that industry or business, an early introduction would be a good stress test to be able to determine whether the next gen would be, because family businesses, as we have established, are going to require commitment and sacrifice at most points in time. So having that genuine care for the business and being able to be selfless in this, in the dispensation of your duties where need be, that's how I see it from that point of view. But I can't speak too much to it because I'm also literally a new gen just coming in. So
looking well. So.
Yeah.
Mr. What would you do differently?
I would have joined much earlier.
Oh, we can send this to your dad, right?
Yeah, now you can say, yeah, I would have. No, I mean, after school,
Okay, got
I would have joined much earlier. I say this because sometimes you only get to understand a story from the middle part to the end, and you don't get to appreciate it from the beginning. Rarely do you appreciate the story from the beginning. Even for every movie, for everything that happens in life, they say you tell a man's life by the time he's done, right? I would have joined earlier because there are things that I have delayed because I missed that particular hour, that golden hour where I should have been there. And I feel like a big part of, and this advice goes to everybody, a big part of what we see with family business is that sometimes it seems like it's selfish. Like there's a selfish interest. And the selfish interest comes not from the sense of preserving the idea or the business model, but it often comes from survival. And most family businesses, the generation that started it based on survival. This was the business that fed me. This was what made me to be able to buy a house, buy a car, take care of you, take you to school, and all of that. And that survival aspect is something that if you are able to carry along with you, the business grows automatically. Because when you think of the fact that you too need to survive, you put in a lot of effort to make it work. And if you channel that energy into the next generation coming in and letting them understand that the business is about survival. I'm not going to pay you $20,000 a month. I'm going to pay you 500 Ghana cedis a month. That was my starting salary, by the way. 500 Ghana cedis.
Out of 10 years ago.
Out of Ashesi, 500 Ghana cedis.
Yeah, that was a national service.
And
yeah,
it's not that it's any better now, by the way. I just want you to know. It's pretty much the same. But that 500 Ghana cedi gave me, no, I want to see if I can make this work to 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, $100,000, buy a car, buy a house. And it sounds selfish, but it's the programming of my mind to survive on that makes me want to channel a lot of energy, innovation, adapt. Whatever I need to do to make it work, I'm going to do it to make it work. And I missed the opportunity if I didn't start it. 500
cedis. Are you ready? All right. So final words. We want to advise our final year students ready to take on the entrepreneurship journey. So I'd say just one line, but the one line could be 15. So just one, what would you have to say to to our people here, our live audience? They've taken notes. Are you scared? Are you guys okay? We haven't scared you, have we?
No.
All right. So just an advice to the entrepreneurship part.
What I would say is entrepreneurship is probably the most robust form of personal development you ever undertake. It's going to teach you how to deal with people. So emotional intelligence is going to teach you resilience, discipline, persistence, And being okay with uncertainty, being okay with the true risk of failure. These are things that entrepreneurship will teach you. At least it's been my personal experience.
Yeah. I mirror completely of that. You've chosen the best that the world will have to give you at this point in time in your life. So you're young, you haven't, probably some of you have done some internships here and there, but it's barely 3 months, 6 months. Entrepreneurship is a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle. You live it till you die. And if you like peace, after the class, don't start a business and don't join one too. But that's the reality. If you like peace, don't do entrepreneurship. But if you don't like peace, you like problems, chaos. That is where you should be.
It's rewarding though.
Yes, that's what I was coming to say. So,
The last one always has the reward.
I know, right?
entrepreneurship can be very rewarding. After you go through the resilience, the chaos, you have to have a why. Even if the why is your $30,000 you want to get, that should push you. And once you see that $30,000 in your bank account, that sense of fulfillment and reward, you can hardly get it anywhere. So it's tough, but I think it's worth it. So get ready, but get ready for the resilience, the character developments, the chaos, but also get ready to be very fulfilled and very rewarded. Some people may not even end up seeing the 30,000. Maybe instead of $30,000, they'll see $10,000. But even the things you pick up along the way, the testimonies from people, I've been looking for a job and this is what I've been wanting to do my whole life, all of those things feed it, and it can be very rewarding. So get ready. Yeah.
And enjoy the journey as well, right? The good times, the bad times, but it's all part of it. I mean, you look back and you be like, oh, you can laugh at the problems, you can laugh at some of the things that kept you down before. So enjoy the journey, every part of it. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Ewurabena. Thank you, Sam and Dr. Razak. Thank you to our live audience. Thank you to the audience. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Family Business Diaries. We release new episodes every month. You can find us on all podcast streaming platforms, on YouTube at Family Business Diaries, and follow us on social media at Family Business Hub GH. See you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.